numbers do not lie. Fire, 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 oh, fire, 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 oh.
What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of JP's Fire Fantasy Show, where we bring you the most up-to-date and accurate information from around the fantasy world. Last week was a pretty successful week for me fantasy-wise. Here's a few notable wins that I got, and a large part of that had to do with the waiver wire picks we talked about last week. They contributed for me across many leagues, and what I would say was a plus. Let's continue to carry that momentum on going into our final week. I want to start by saying the first two picks that I will give out today will be specifically for this week, and they would be speculative ads. So these are your high risk, high reward guys, but there is a good chance they can be productive and propel you to a win. So without further ado, let's start the Fire 5 Fantasy Wire picks for the week. At number 5, I have Damian Mitchell. He's currently 5% owned. I do like his upside, but unfortunately, he is only fantasy relevant as long as De'Aaron Fox is out. Currently, Fox is dealing with a hamstring injury, and the status of that injury is unknown at the moment. But if you are a Fox owner, adding Mitchell off the wire should be priority, just in case Fox heads to IR. Like I said, this is only a speculative ad, so only make a move like this if you have solidified a playoff spot and need point guard help. Mitchell got the start last night against the Pelicans, and he played 32 minutes. He also shot an absurd 75% from the floor with 3 3-pointers, 1 rebound, 6 assists, 1 steal, and 1 turnover in a win. So, like I said, Mitchell is a very high risk, high reward type of play. But if Fox was to miss time the remainder of this week, this would be a monumental ad that can catapult you into a win for the week. At number 4, I have Dorian Finney-Smith. He is currently 27% owned and starting to settle into his role with the Brooklyn Nets. Over the last week, he's averaged 1.8 3-pointers a game, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and 1.3 blocks per game. I know those numbers don't necessarily jump out at you, but if your roster needs some 3-and-D stats, he should be a go-to player, especially because he has 3 more games to close out the week. I believe that's only one of 2 teams that has 3 games remaining. The Nets play the Bucks, Timberwolves, and Nuggets, who are 25th, 6th, and 17th against power forwards and fantasy points allowed, respectively. So, like I said, man, bigs at this point in the year are slim. So, if you're in need of that category, definitely go ahead and look Dorian Finney-Smith's way. At number 3, I have Caleb Martin. He's currently 18% owned in fantasy leagues, and he has been amazing over the last 2 weeks. He shot 54% from the floor, 87% from the line, 1.6 3-pointers per game, 12.1 points per game, 3 rebounds, and a block per game. So as you can see, he has contributed to most categories, and that has catapulted him into the top 90 fantasy players in that span, and he should continue to produce at a similar output going forward. On a side note, Kevin Love is also battling a rib injury. He doesn't have a definitive set time to be back, but even still, if Kevin Love does come back, I don't think that would take away from Martin's minutes. But as long as Kevin Love is out, that should also give Martin an increase. So look for him to be a valuable part in the Heat's push for a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference. At number 2, I have Jarrell Suggs, who is currently 30% owned in fantasy leagues. Look for that number to rise over the next few days, as Suggs has recently been implemented into the starting shooting guard role for the Magic, and he is not disappointed by any means. Over the last week, he's averaged 46.7 shooting from the field, 12 points per game, 4.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists, and 2 steals per game. Since he is getting minutes upward of 30 minutes, expect his production to stay around these numbers with a few big games mixed into the equation. The Magic are a young, solid, talented team, and I expect them to finish out the year strong to see what they have in their young core of Suggs, Banchero, and Wagner. The Magic close out the week against the Jazz and Heat, who ranked 3rd and 25th respectively for fantasy points allowed against shooting guards. Expect Suggs to have a productive night in each of those games and contribute to a win. At number 1, I have Cam Reddish, who is currently 45% owned in fantasy leagues. He's finally found a stable home in Portland, and the former Knick looks to be really happy with the situation he's in. After the Blazers lost to the Hawks this past Friday, head coach Chauncey Billups had high praise for Reddish. He stated, "We need another guy that can be aggressive, that can move the scoreboard a little bit. I thought he played a really good game. He doesn't really know most of the offense yet, and we haven't had practice that much. And even when we did, he wasn't playing the point or secondary ball handler, which he is easily able to do." This is great indication that Cam will be a huge part of the offense moving forward, and it's only a matter of time before he starts producing at a high clip for the Blazers as they try to make the playoffs. In his last game, he had 13 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds, with 2 steals and a winning effort against the Pistons. He has decent matchups to close out the week against the Celtics and the Sixers, who rank 22nd and 14th respectively for fantasy points allowed against shooting guards. Keep him on your radar if you need a guy who can fill up a stat sheet. This concludes our Fire 5 waiver wire picks for this week. Good luck to all on the final week of fantasy basketball regular season. Definitely tune in next week for the first round of the playoffs, as we will have great picks for you guys for that week's matchup. As always, like and subscribe and let us know how we're doing. If you like what you're seeing, if you don't like it, and what we need to improve on, man. I'm always a big advocate for getting better at your craft. So, as I always say, if you ain't learning, you ain't living. Stay out.
Fire, oh, hey. Don't you play yourself? Don't you play yourself? Why you hate yourself? Countdown, 3, 2, 1. Where did the time go? 10 shots.